Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we read the first two chapters of the Way of Kings. I almost did that. We read the first two chapters of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson, the second book in the Stormlight Archive. Well, technically, we read the prologue in chapter 1, I guess. That's my bad. In the prologue, we go back in time 6 years to see what happened again, but from a different perspective. And then we come back to present day and see what Yasna and Shallan have gotten up to. I'm Data, and with me today is...
Jamie.
Jack.
And Joe.
So hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin. So yeah, that new song, in case anyone was wondering, that we're using for this one. Actually, I picked my top favorites and let the people on the Patreon vote for what song we would use for this book, because I just was having trouble narrowing it down. And the winner that we are now using is called Amnesia by Miracle of Sound, obviously. So go and check that out if you want to hear the whole song.
What's that one from?
Amnesia. Oh, that's a great question that I don't remember offhand. Let me see. Amnesia, Miracle of Sound. I can see.
Amnesia. So is this going to be like that episode of Futurama where everybody keeps getting amnesia in the Calculon soap opera?
Does anyone here not have amnesia? I forgot.
Oh, I think this may be an original one.
Oh, okay.
Ooh,
Cool.
nice.
It doesn't list the video game that it's related to.
Referencing. Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up the video itself and see. Oh yeah, see there's no like video game or there's no imagery at all on the YouTube video. It's just the title card for the song. So
Very good.
there you go. Also, since we're starting a new book and we had some issues at the beginning of the last book, I will preface this one by saying if you have not listened to the show before now, it will be full spoilers for everything that we have read so far. Anything that we've read already is up for grabs, which obviously, since we're starting the second Stormlight book, includes the previous Stormlight book, but also all of Mistborn Era 1, all of Mistborn Era 2, Elantris, Warbreaker, and at this point, everything from Arcanum Unbounded that is not Stormlight related, so Sixth of Dusk, Secret History, Shadows for Silence, all that stuff. So if you haven't read any of that stuff and you don't want to be spoiled, also White Sand, left that one out, then you might want to go back and listen to us talk about those things first before you move into Words of Radiance, as we are about to do. So fair warning, that's a thing. And so now, before we get into these two chapters, Jamie is back this week. She wasn't feeling good last time, and we're going to give her a chance to give her thoughts on Shadows for Silence in the Forests of Hell before she moves into what did we think of these two chapters. So go ahead.
Thanks. And sorry I missed last week, everybody. It's not often that you miss an entire episode where an entire story got covered, so that sucks. But I really liked it. I thought it was really good. I like Silence's character. Threw me a bit with William Ann. I was like, that's just not a name you hear for a girl very often. It's totally fine. No problems with it. It just threw me. I was like, what? Who's William? What? Got very confused. But no, I liked her character too. I liked the story. I liked the setup of the world and those rules that they have to follow. And I thought it was really creative around you can't shed blood. It's not saying you can't kill someone. You just can't let their blood shed, which I thought was kind of interesting. I want to know more about them, so I hope we do. I hope we hear more about this world soon. Well, it's not going to be very soon. Obviously, we're in a completely different system right now, but it's fascinating. It's really cool. I want to know what happened here in more detail than we got through the essay. Yeah, I liked it. I think every bit when I was reading, it sort of kept me on my toes. I find some of the short stories that we read, I'm expecting huge things out of them because we're so used to reading such big stories. And then you're like, oh, but it was a short story and it was, okay, that's kind of wrapped up and it's the end. but I felt that I was kind of on the edge of my seat at every turn, and it wrapped up as nice as it could. Like, I'm really satisfied with it. I think it was a really cool story, and I really like Silence as a character. I love keeping the shade of grandma in the cupboard. That was I was like, there's got to be something in the cupboard, but I expected her to pull out the dead husband, not the grandmother. But it makes sense to have the grandmother in there, given that it's her little shrine to the god beyond. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome.
Good. Glad that it's a different sort of story. So I'm glad that you liked that one. I will say, as I told the others last week, that he has said that he intends to do a whole novel on this planet at some point. So we will hopefully get more.
Yeah, it's just it's a whole new hurdle, having to live by certain rules. Like you've got freedom, but you really kind of don't. Like, every time you step out of line, you could have these, and it'd be horrific for you. So yeah, I think that would be a really cool setting for a bigger story. But yeah, moving into our prologue and chapter 1, I really enjoyed getting Yasna's view on what happened that night. I really want to know more about Yasna now, going around having this like system of assassins that she's got around, and what's her problem with Elhokar's wife. I'm really interested there, what's going on. So I hope we find out a bit more of that. And obviously the Pashendi coming in to take responsibility. I think that was a bit that we didn't really know about before. Like, we'd heard that they'd taken responsibility for it, but to have had them there, like literally on the scene taking responsibility for it, is pretty wild. And then Shallan back on the boat, learning to really stand up for herself and communicate that authority that she holds. That was good. But I liked hearing about. I'm jumping between the two chapters now. Like, Yasna's experience in Shadesmar, and then starting to teach Shallan about that too. I'm really excited that we're going to learn more about that through this book. Well, I hope. It's a pretty big book, and we're in chapter 1, so you never know. It could be the teaser for the next book already. Who knows?
Yeah, I will tell you guys now, since we've experienced the first bit, but every book of these first 5 Stormlight books, at least, is this same night from a different perspective for the prologue.
Yeah, cool.
So we have that to look forward to in the next 3 books of different people. So
even the one that hasn't been released yet?
It is. In fact, he has already released the prologue, and I have read the prologue for that one, which has some interesting stuff. And it's probably not actually a spoiler to tell you guys that it's Gavilar is the perspective character for that 5th one. So we find out a lot of interesting things from him.
So he's just drunk the whole time?
Not
no,
Gavilar.
Gavilar.
Yeah.
Gavilar.
Ooh, yeah, that is interesting. He's the guy who gets killed. So that night, from his perspective, would be pretty handy to know.
Mm.
So we have that coming far in the future. But yeah, so it's
Sorry, just imagining one of them from Kaladin's perspective. He was 20,000 miles away, and he was 10.
Yeah, he'd be like 13 or something. Yeah, it's a very young person. Not too interesting, that one. But
there's a few people that you'd be interested in, right? Like, you to an extent, Dalinar's perspective, even though he was being drunk and crazy, but like Sadeas might be a good one. The decoy might be a good one. Like, there's a few people in there that would be quite interesting to see their point of view from. So that's really exciting.
Well, Sadeas was the decoy.
Elhokar?
Was Sadeas the decoy? I thought someone else was the decoy.
No, he was the decoy.
Sadeas was the decoy.
Yeah, he
who was
like
the other guy? The guy who was wearing the bodyguard. Sorry,
that was
he
Gavilar.
was wearing the suit. No. That was the 3 of them. So who was the guy today that was wearing his shard plate, like Gavilar's shard plate?
Oh yeah, that was actually his bodyguard. But I guess he got his shard plate back from the bodyguard before the fight started.
Yeah.
Or something.
I'd still like to hear his view of what happened that night. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
The bodyguard of the man who died.
Right. Yeah, there's all sorts of people who are hanging around there. Maybe we don't even know everybody who was there at this point. Elhokar, we know, was there in the Seth perspective in Way of Kings. We saw him like at the dining table, like after his dad left the room, like kind of taking charge of things. But yeah, so lots of, and this one is one of a really fascinating one, I guess I would say, because Yasna is doing some weird stuff tonight, and some weird things are happening to her. And as you pointed out, she's got this whole assassin thing going, which is like, okay, want to know more about this?
Yeah.
Oh, Yasna.
Yeah, like an interesting start to the book. Just from everything we saw of Yasna in the previous book, it was just like, I don't know if we'll ever get to see inside her head. So even if this is the only instance of it, this was very interesting to see how she operated. I'll admit, if we knew that Elhokar had a wife, I had forgotten it. When they're talking about Elhokar's wife, I'm like, wait, what? Wait, what? It's like, God, first Sadeas and now Elhokar. All these people who are married, and I had no idea.
I mean, to be fair, maybe Elhokar doesn't have a wife anymore.
That's entirely possible, yeah.
She's been mentioned a couple of times. Like, she's the queen was left back in Alethkar to like
true,
take care of things. And Navani like went back to help her, and then Navani like comes back and she's like, yeah, the queen doesn't need me there. So yeah, that's Elhokar's wife.
Okay. Well, I guess that's marginally better than Sadeas's, who was still around the camp and just only got mentioned once.
Right.
But yeah, no, like that was all interesting. Her perspective of seeing Seth and Gavilar fighting each other was just horrific. Just like being like, Yasna's the sort of person who just doesn't like to feel powerless. So in that moment, she did, and it was pretty devastating. I wasn't expecting the Parshendi to just admit, yeah, it was us, like 2 seconds after it happened. I thought that was going to happen well after the fact. So that's interesting. I'm wondering if we're going to see more of those guys, because I think it mentioned they're all in the dungeons now. But yeah,
I think they got hanged.
Yeah, they got executed. Yep.
My bad. Sorry, it's been a big week, and I read these pretty much as soon as we finished recording last week.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and then on the boat, it's nice to see, yeah, just more of Shallan and Yasna, like how their relationship is evolving. Talking about Shadesmar, I wasn't expecting them to be back on that same boat that brought Shallan to Kharbranth, right? in the first book. I'm like, really, you guys again?
Well, we know that they were coming to pick Shallan up already, and I think Yasna even mentioned that she made arrangements for that same boat to take Shallan home. So I guess it makes sense that it's the same boat. But
I remember they were coming to pick her up, but I don't remember Yasna saying it was going to be the same boat taking her home that she had organized. I thought it was just
I don't remember for sure.
First boat out of here, you can fuck right off.
We're told that Yasna specifically made arrangements. I guess I don't remember if she says specifically what boat it was.
Yeah. And that was cool. Like, seeing Shallan go, all right, I have to actually just stand up for myself and just say, no, you will do this thing that I need you to do, and that involves dropping me in the ocean. So that was cool. I'll admit I was a bit disappointed when the big monster was just like a turtle jellyfish. I was really hoping for Gamera to show up. But no, like, still, like, really interesting to see just more of the world, more of like the weird shit that's out there. So yeah, fun stuff. Good start to the book.
There's a nice sketch of the Xanthid in this book, but in my version at least, it's after chapter 2, so we'll see it next time. But it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be like the sketch that Shallan makes after this chapter. So
okay,
it's a very nice picture actually. But yeah, so yeah. It is. I mean, we were wanting to see more of Yalv after we last saw him in the first book, so I'm not upset about it being the same book.
Oh yeah, but like, it's fun to see them all again. I just wasn't prepared for it.
Yeah, right. And it is nice to see Shallan getting some, because she's Yasna's ward, and she's been learning all the studying things part of it, but now we see that there's other parts that the wardship will teach you, like she's learning how to exude like this noble woman attitude, basically, which I'm sure is an important part of why you have a wardship like this. You're learning. It's like an apprenticeship. You're learning from someone who actually does this stuff.
Yeah, and it did seem like growing up with her father and her brothers in that absolute chaos of a household, she was a bit sheltered from not just her teachings but also just life in general. So like, it really seems like Yasna's going, it's like, you will need this to survive, because otherwise you're going to get eaten alive.
Yeah, right. And I buy that. The whole Alethi society, at least, is like, has a lot of this politicking going on. So I don't know. Yakoved is probably not all that different in that manner. So it's important stuff for Shallan to learn, probably.
Yeah. Also, the idea of I forgot to mention it. The idea of her getting engaged to Adolin, like, oh man, this is going to be all right. Popcorn now. Let's see how this unfolds.
Yeah, I was wondering what you guys would think of that after what we've seen of Adolin up till now.
I think we've all made our thoughts on Adolin pretty clear at this point.
And an early prediction, I think Shallan will make her thoughts quite clear to Adolin too.
She's not much of one for keeping that stuff inside.
Nah. Yeah. Oh man, great start to the book. I was worried. Which, I mean, I know not a lot happened. We basically rehashed some stuff, but we picked back up with Shallan. But I was worried that like we weren't going to get many answers at the start of the book. It was just going to kind of be, more kind of a slow pace. So I like that the pace is, at least to me, just from what little we read, I felt like this was still a good pace, a good little clip to start out with. The prologue from Yasna's perspective, that is cool. It is also more interesting to know that each of the prologues will be each from a different perspective of the same night. That is a really interesting kind of thing to do for each prologue. It kind of also tells you that like that moment is the catalyst for everything to unfold afterwards. So at least to me, that seems to be the case if you're going to focus on that in every prologue. But anyway, yeah, really some interesting stuff in the prologue. Obviously, Yasna like going to Shadesmar for the first time, and also like those we'll get into it, but like those two guys like that she met and then they kind of ran away. Like I was like, wait a minute, there's definitely something going on here. So I'm excited to see if we figure out kind of what's going on with that. And the Shallan stuff, just a really solid chapter, getting a little bit of more information about how Shadesmar works on Roshar and all this other stuff. And I'm looking forward to reading the next section. I think when I scrolled over, it looks like it's going to be a Kaladin section next. So it'll be fun. Excited.
Yeah, I mean, we find out from the title card or whatever for part 1 that we got Shallan, Kaladin, and Dalinar again. Right. So all our old friends back, more or less.
Yeah, and also the little intros. Oh, which I was going to ask you about, which I mean, we could do this here in a second, or I guess I could just do it now. So there's a year on the thing in front of the chapter head for Navani. And I just didn't remember if we knew what year it was, like in the books right now. Like in the last book, do we know what year it was? Would you tell us that?
That is actually a good question. Hold on, let me see if I can find.
Because I wanted to know when those things were written.
So I'm looking to see what years pop up. We know. So if you'll remember in the first book, there was the one of the images we got was a map of the Battle of the Tower, with like arrows showing the different armies' movements from that, when Sadeas betrayed Dalinar. That map is labeled Map of the Battle of the Tower, drawn and labeled by Navani Colon circa 1173.
Oh, wow. So that's just a year before the journal entry.
Yeah. And so, and we know, let me see. We know from the things, the last words of people, those are often labeled with the year that they were recorded, and several of those are labeled 1173. The last one in here is labeled Tana Tanev. So hold on, let's see. Roshar calendar, let's see how late in the year if we can interpret this. So there, if you'll recall, there are 10 months in a year, and the month Tenat is the 9th month.
Oh wow! So we're pretty much right where we left off in terms of these journal entries too. That's crazy. So either she's talking about something that's about to happen or just happened that we missed.
I guess we don't know for sure that all of those like recorded last words are from within the same time period as that first book, but I mean it seems like a good possibility.
Oh, okay, because they don't have the year; they just had the month.
Well, no, they have the month and the year, but what I'm saying is we don't know. There's no way for us to know that there aren't last words included that happened after the time period, because they're not part of the text of the chapter. They're epigraphs, right? So they could have been from the future or the past or whatever, theoretically.
Right. Well, I meant more specifically the Navani stuff. Like if it's 1174, like either that's the year we're in, or it's in the near future, because if the Battle of the Tower is 1173, then we know that that's very close. Okay, well that's good information for me to have in my brain, because like I said, either some stuff just went down or some stuff's about to go down.
Yeah, we got it does sound like some stuff has gone down. before whenever these notes, however far in the future these notes are. Yeah, so it could be close. Okay, I guess let's get into these 2 chapters. The prologue is 2 question, as we mentioned. The night of Gavilar's assassination, but from Yasna's perspective, as we've talked about. And she didn't like the party. She's like, she pretended to enjoy the party, but she's never seemed, to me at least, like a big party girl. So this might be me at a party. I'm just like, yeah, totally fun. I'm going to go now. And I like Dalinar is so drunk that people are trying to like escort him out and shush him as he gets all loud, but he won't leave.
He's like, more wine.
And everyone is trying to, it says the Alethi politely ignored his outburst, except for Elhokar's wife, Sudan, who snickered primly behind a kerchief. And it just comes out as like Yasna had an appointment with an assassin, so she's got to get out of there. And people stare at her and whisper about her as she goes by because she's the infamous heretic. And it makes it sound like this may be a recent thing, because it's like the king's daughter admitting to heresy. That was unprecedented. So it sounds like this might be a recent development. And she's wondering about the Parshendi. She's like, the way that they react is sometimes a little bit strange. And they look a little not festive, not happy. They look kind of nervous, actually. I wonder why.
They've just never been around drunk people before.
Yeah, maybe.
Dalinar is very intimidating. Maybe that's why, like, on the Shattered Plains, that one Parshendi was like, "It's you! I found you! You made a real spectacle of yourself years ago, and then you vomited down my front.
You were hilarious. We want to invite you to a party."
Too bad I have to kill you now.
Yeah, if we don't kill each other, then you should totally come to the after party.
It's like he sang some very bawdy songs, and some of the Parshendi picked it up and corrupted half their army. So he's like, "We got to pay you back for that, man."
You dishonored my daughter. He's like, "Wait, what?" But as Yasna leaves, she notices that her shadow is pointing in the wrong direction, which is like, like she's not totally comfortable with this. It says her skin is clammy, her stomach clenches, like she feels like she might be about to vomit, and she goes, "Oh, not again."
We haven't seen that before, have we?
I don't think so.
It's like a Peter Pan type thing, huh?
Right? Yeah. And then it gradually, like, it's described as oozing back toward her feet and then stretching out in the correct direction. And she's worried that somebody else might have seen. I doubt anyone's paying much attention to your shadow, though.
Yeah. This is the silent story, right? It's like her shadow's actually a shade. It's gonna strangle her.
Ooh, yeah, maybe.
No, that
just
was a
don't
joke.
shed any blood,
I like how Data's like, ooh, maybe. I'm like, no.
You don't know what's up with the shadow. It could be an evil monster.
I was gonna say, since you brought up Peter Pan, like she could easily have a friend called Tinkerbell somewhere.
I like this.
Ooh, or do shadow sprints make your shadow do all weird stuff?
Ooh.
Yeah.
And at this moment, when she looks around to make sure nobody's noticing what just happened, she notices one of the Parshendi's servants, but it's a Shin. Oh, that's weird. And then she starts thinking about, like, what does this shadow thing mean? Like, I've read folktales that say that a misbehaving shadow means you're cursed, which that's dumb. But, I mean, some superstitions are rooted in fact. Maybe there is something going on. And then she goes out the back door so that, nobody will notice her, and runs right into the king and Bright Lord Meritus Amaram.
The fuck's that guy doing there?
Right?
Boo.
And we're told Gavilar is a handsome man, unlike his brother, Burn Again Dalinar.
Yeah, it's like they just gang up on Dalinar in this. He's a drunk, he's unattractive, and then when he pulls himself together, no one listens to him. It's like, man.
And it does mention that Tiram, his bodyguard, is wearing his shard plate. Gavilar doesn't wear it as often lately. And her dad's like, "Oh, hey, Yasna, are you leaving so early?" And she's like, hardly early. This is the tiresome part of the feast where the conversation grows louder but no smarter, and the company drunken. I feel you, Yasna. It's all right. It's all right. Many people consider that sort of thing enjoyable. Many people, unfortunately, are idiots, she replies. And I love Yasna. And then he has a thing. Her dad is like, maybe if you found some pleasant associations, hint, hint, looking over at Amaram. And Yasna's just like, yeah, not going to happen, she thinks to herself. Apparently his dad's been trying to hook this up for a while.
Oh, she goes, it would never happen, and goes straight to Amaram, and like she must be giving him a death glare or something because his bits are just like shriveling up, and he's just like, Yeah, he looks at her, meets her eyes, murmurs some parting words to her father, and hastens away.
And then Galar's like, okay, I guess I'll go back to the party. And there's a moment where she's like, what aren't you telling me? And like, there's something strange about it. She thinks like she feels like she hardly knows this guy anymore. Such a striking transformation in such a short time. And he takes off. And she keeps walking down the corridor, and her shadow starts acting up again. And she's like, all right, that's enough. Damn it, Shadow, we're going to have this out. But then it's not just her shadow. Other shadows start lengthening and deepening and turning into figures rising up from the ground. And I love her first thought is just like, oh, crap, I'm going crazy. Like, this can't be real.
I mean, that's a fair assessment.
Well, yeah, okay, you're not wrong. One takes the shape of a man of midnight blackness, with a reflective cast as if he were made of oil or some other liquid with an oil coating. And he has a sword that he unsheathes. And she's like, oh, this is bad. All right. And she can't figure out what to do. And suddenly the Stormlight lamp on the wall near her goes dark, and the palace disintegrates. And she falls into the sea of spheres that we know is Shadesmar. We've seen it a couple of times now. She has never seen it before, however, at this point.
Man, she's like, man, I should not have drank that wine.
Shit, no shit.
It's a bad
trip.
Just
she starts to drown in this sea of beads. And she's going to die. She was going to die, leaving her work unfinished and her family unprotected. She would never know the answers. No, that's the part she can't take. She's going to know those damn answers, whatever the answers are she's looking for. And as she's touching the beads, she feels each one give off an impression of something: a door, a table, a shoe, a cup, a platter, and so on and so forth. She finds one, it says, that's something ancient, ponderous and slow of thought, yet somehow strong. This is the bead representing the palace itself. And she gave the bead everything she had and commanded it to rise. And suddenly she's standing kneeling on a platform of beads locked together. That they're that part of the corridor that she was in, but made of beads now, which is just bizarre. This is another one of the things I think would be a very striking visual.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. They're beads now. They're beads now. Ow.
I'm impressed she figured out how to do it so quickly. Like, surely you're panicking, you're drowning in these beads. Like, okay. Very clever.
Very lucky that she figured out how to do it so quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's impressive. What can I say? And then the ink guy or oil guy or whatever he is back and draws his sword again. And she's like, oh, crap. And then she holds up another bead, the bead of a statue, the statue of Telenalat Elin, Herald of War. And she makes it kind of generate into being also. And not only that, but she makes the statue move. Like it starts swinging its sword.
Yeah. If you want any statue to move, it's the Herald of War statue.
Yeah, probably, right? Although she notes that the sword is made of round beads, so you can't make a sharp sword out of that.
I mean, that's the one who showed up at the end of Way of Kings, isn't it? And we saw from that picture, that dude is jacked.
Yep.
Yeah. He's got biceps for days.
Yeah, it's like he always doesn't need the sword. Like, you can't get the sword past his biceps.
Yeah. His biceps have biceps.
Yeah.
And so Yasna has the sword, the statue confront this dark figure, and the figure kind of stares at her for a minute, and then it says raises two fingers to its forehead and bows as if in respect, a cloak flourishing out behind it. And then the others like it have gathered, and they start exchanging whispers, and all of a sudden she's back in the hallway of the palace, the real one. The stormlight dead in the lamps on the walls around her, the only illumination coming from further down, so something drained all that stormlight out. Maybe it was her. This is just she's like Kaladin early on, where she's maybe drawing it without realizing what's going on.
Well, that was my assumption, considering she's got a different radiant power, so she's just drawing it out to do the thing.
It takes her a minute to compose herself. She's but immediately she starts thinking Shadesmar. That's what it's called in nursery rhymes. The mythological kingdom of the Spren. She'd never believed that it existed, but now she's going to research it more.
They have nursery rhymes? I need to read these nursery rhymes. What the fuck are they like?
Oh, it's just nursery tales.
About Shadesmar.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be reading them. Stuff of nightmares for kids.
This is like authentic Brothers Grimm up to 11.
Well, it says it's the kingdom of the Spren, so maybe it's like cheery stories about like Windspren being silly or
I don't know about that.
in their Spren kingdom. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then she's like, oh crap, my appointment. Right. I'm meeting an assassin. I need to get to that. And there's a guy kind of lounging outside the door, and she heads in, and she meets with Liss, who wore a maid's dress, low cut, of course, and could have been Alethi or Vedden or Bav, depending on which part of her accent she chose to emphasize. That's always good, to be able to blend in when you're a hired killer. And I also like the exchange where Liss is like, you're late, and Yasna's like, doesn't respond in any way, because she's like, I'm the employer here. I don't have to give excuses for being late.
I have to remember that.
And also, she takes out an envelope, Yasna does, and puts it on the table, and then considers it for a moment and goes, no, that's a little too brash. And so she pulls out her backup envelope and puts that on the table instead. This woman knows how to plan. And so apparently Yasna, it says she'd been planning to commit an assassination, but she's decided she doesn't want to do that until she's more certain. And so the backup plan is Liss is going to be hired to watch. And who's she watching? Well, the queen. Well, not the queen yet. Wife of the heir to the throne. So she wasn't the queen until probably later tonight after Gavilar is dead.
Yeah, give us 20 minutes.
And Yasna's thinking, like, too much is going on. I need to be careful. I need to be subtle. So she's going to arrange for Liss to be hired on as one of her sister-in-law's maids and to watch and report. And maybe later on there will be other services needed. Liss is an assassin known as the Weeper because she gouges out the eyes of the targets that she kills. No one knows that the Weeper is a woman, but no one also knows, except for apparently Yasna, why she gouges people's eyes out. It's because she wants to hide the fact that their eye sockets are burned out, because she presumably has a secret shard blade. Unless there's another way that eyes get burned out. I guess we don't know that there's not, but that's the way that we
I think
know.
shard blade's a good guess.
Yeah, safe bet.
And then Liss is like, you know what? I like you. You don't like when other people hire me, they turn up their noses at the process. They want to use me, but they find it, it's all distasteful. And yes, it's like, well, I mean, assassination is distasteful, but so is cleaning out chamber pots, and I can respect a person employed for such jobs without admiring the job itself.
I will throw out there, when she said, do you know why I like you, Brightness? I had a flashback to, you know what I hate about being a mercenary? And I went, oh no, not again.
Yeah. For me, it was like, I know why you're sad.
Do you know why I know why you're sad?
Liss, until recently, had a Shin servant that she actually wanted to show off to Yasna, but she got rid of him. Storming creepy, that Shin fellow was.
Wow. So this woman inadvertently got the king killed.
Yeah, in a way. Although, what this makes me wonder is, like, did Liss know, like, if Liss owned Seth, did she know about his shard blade? And were all of those guys getting burned out eyes that she assassinated because she just, like, had Seth do the killing of them?
Yeah, that's a good point.
In which case, selling him was probably a bad plan, but
she doesn't seem to have broken up about it.
It's true. I mean, she could be good at what she does also, but
she could still gouge out eyes. I mean, nobody's going to be the wiser.
Right? Yeah.
I didn't think that she'd had Seth that long. Like, if Yasna already had a standing relationship with her and knew how she worked, then to have her new servant Seth come in, it's like, well, she's already got her reputation.
That's a fair point. Yeah, makes sense. And we find out that Yasna has a standing agreement with several assassins that if they get hired to kill someone in her family, that the assassin will let her pay them instead to reveal who tried to take the contract out. And they go along with it because a repeat customer is always more valuable than a one-off contract. And it was in the best interest of people like that to have a friend in the government.
Look what your assassin did to my customer. My business, repeat customers.
I said my drug would take you places. I didn't say they'd be places you wanted to go.
Can you imagine that sell? It's like, buyer beware. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, Scarecrow's not going to get a lot of repeat customers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you sell your drug one time, you're screwed.
Maybe he's in it for the short. Like he just needed some money quick.
I was going to say that wasn't a long-term plan.
Yeah. If it was, it was a very poor one.
Dogs.
My dogs are hungry.
Pity there is only one of you. Oh man, it's a great movie.
Yeah, no, it's a terrific movie.
I haven't watched that in a while.
See how loyal a hungry dog really is. I like that the dogs come back.
Mm-hmm. Little Gamble here couldn't get a nickel for his grandma. Sorry.
Enough from the clown. Okay, we're just gonna recite the entire movie, The Dark Knight. Yeah, I'm sure the audience will appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is now the Dark Knight podcast. No other Chris Nolan movies. No other Batman movies. Just The Dark Knight. So be prepared for another 200 episodes of just Dark Knight action.
I want to slip in some Mask of the Phantasm.
Sure, I guess.
Also a great Batman movie.
Yeah. Mark Hamill in his element, being the Joker.
So she leaves, Yasna does, and all of a sudden the drums cut off, and she's like, "Oh, is the party ending? Or had Dalinar done something to offend the celebrants?" That man and his wine. And then she hears somebody talking as they come, or as she goes their direction or they come hers, or both. And the voice says, "I'm worried about Ash." And the other voice says, "You worry about everything." So she's getting worse. Yeah. We weren't supposed to get worse. Am I getting worse? I think I feel worse.
Don't you worry about Ash. Let me worry about blank.
And the guy goes, "Shut up." And the first guy says, "I don't like this. What we've done is wrong. That creature carries my lord's own blade. We shouldn't have let him keep it. And then Yasna runs into these guys. Ambassadors from the West, an Azish man with a white birthmark on his cheek, or maybe a scar, and the shorter might have been a Lethe.
So these guys, like, I've got so many questions, but it's like, it almost seems like they may not know what's going on, like, as far as the assassination goes, but it seems to be like they're talking about Seth. Maybe they're not.
Okay.
But I wonder if they recognized him and they're like, wait, that guy's here. We got to get the hell out of here. Like, I don't know. Something about these dudes and their conversation and talking about a blade and I don't know. Something about it don't sit right.
Yeah,
so
100%.
If it is about Seth, the guy says that creature carries my lord's own blade. So does that mean that, like, Seth has a shard blade that's of significance to someone?
Well, yeah. You can't lend your shard blade like your armor, right?
Technically, yes, I believe you can.
You can lend the blade. Interesting. Okay. Well, my thought was, maybe the lord, my lord, whoever that lord is they're talking about is dead, and they're just, they hold him in reverence even in death, and they're like, we shouldn't have let him keep it. He's got our lord's blade still. This guy's crazy. I
believe if you lend a blade, though, like, the person you're lending it to can't, like, dismiss it and summon it. Only the person, like, who owns it can do that.
So yeah, so I would have to summon it, hand it to you, and then you could use it. But then as soon as you drop it, I'd have to summon it again.
Yeah,
or
I think so.
Or if you drop it, does it just sit there and I could pick it up?
I think it's probably more of I think you could dismiss it or resummon it. Like, if the guy's holding your blade, I think you could, like, summon it back to yourself and it would disappear from his hand and reappear to you.
Yeah. So with my other question, which, I mean, you may not know, but, like, if you drop it and you're borrowing my blade, does it just sit on the ground?
That I'm not sure.
Also, is it like Blade's blade where, like, I have to bequeath it to you, otherwise spikes come out and, like, crush your hand, or, like,
it should be, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if I mean, I guess it would have to be, right? Because if I drop my blade, just let it go out of my hands, it disappears. So it would have to, like, know that I'm giving it to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a complex relationship, a man and his blade.
Yeah. Well, we know Seth summons his own blade, so.
Yep. So Yasna asked these guys, "Is the feast over already?" And it notes that it's specifically that her brother had invited these two guys. And the guy goes, "Yes." And then his stare made her uncomfortable, so she walked forward anyway.
I love that. It's like, he stared at me and it made me uncomfortable, so I left.
And then she starts to hear screams as these two leave. And she's like, "Oh no." And she thinks of all the different disasters that might have happened as she, like, rushes through the palace to get to wherever. And then the entire palace shakes and there's a crunch. And she's like, no. She passed shard blade cuts on the walls, and she's like, oh no, this is bad. Leading to her father's quarters. And she realizes as she goes into her dad's quarters, if there's a shard bearer, he will kill me super easily. I should probably go get some help. Dalinar, he'd be drunk. Maybe Sadeas. And then she sees her dad below on the broken balcony and the Shin Man in white from the feast. And she sees Seth, like, glowing with light and falling onto the wall as he walks down the wall to where Gavilar is lying. And then the assassin leaves after doing something that she can't really tell what it is. And she sees her dad must be dead because his blade is there. The shard blade always appears behind you, beside the shard bearer when they die. And she goes, I worked so hard. Everything I did to protect this family. And she thinks for a moment that Liz did it. And then she's like, no, she wouldn't have admitted to owning that Shin guy if she'd done it. And then a voice says, we're sorry for your loss. It's 3 of the Parshendi. And the foremost one says, we take responsibility for his death. And she's like, what are you talking about? Why would it be your fault? And the woman says, because we hired the assassin. We killed your father, Yasna Copeland. Why? Because it had to be done. Because your father was about to do something very dangerous. And then Sadeas shows up, yelling, send for Dalinar. Did my orders get to Elhokar? The crown prince must be taken to safety. What are these savages doing here?
So yeah, like, they're talking about it had to be done. He was going to do something dangerous. I'm like, wait, dangerous? Like, now Seth's being sent after Dalinar? Dangerous? Like, uniting them? Is that the danger?
Yeah. Interesting question. And Yasna tells the Parshendi, there's going to be war, and I will not stand in the way. And the woman's like, this is understood. And the Parshendi leaders never say anything more. They give no clues about what happened, even when they were strung up, hanged for their crimes. The rest of the Parshendi fled. Dalinar sent 100 horsemen after them. None of them ever came back. Apparently horses are super expensive. So just the horse loss was bad for them. Meanwhile, Yasna is like, I saw a guy do something that should be impossible. I'm going to figure out what the hell that was. And that's where we leave off. And we know her 6 years later. She's been researching some very deep stuff. But we do not know if she's ever learned about, like, what the hell Seth was doing.
Dak, no comment on the horse hate by Brandon here. He killed off so many horses off page.
I think it speaks for itself at this point. It's like, Brandon hates horses.
No. I wonder if he got, like, bucked off a horse when he was a kid, and he's like, never again.
Yeah. I don't care if there's horse manure in it. That's so good.
So we start chapter 1 called Santhid, which was the word that last time y'all are like, okay, that doesn't give me any information. What does that mean? Now we know.
Turtle jellyfish.
Yep. And
Silly turtle.
The epigraph, this first one at least, is a excerpt from the personal journal of Navani Colin.
I think you're missing the obvious one here, Dak. Crab jellyfish.
Excellent point. Yep.
Jelly crab.
I don't know how I missed that.
Jelly
I have
crab.
never pretended to be smart.
Like a turtle jellyfish is something we would have seen in Last Airbender.
Yeah, or crab jellyfish.
They had turtle ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, crab jellyfish.
They
had fire
otter
crabs,
penguins.
I think.
Otter penguins made the most sense to me. Or penguin otters, my bad.
Not platypus bears?
No, that one never sat right with me because it's a giant bear-sized thing that lays an egg. It's just creepy.
Agreed.
I was quite a fan of the little spider fly caught in its own web.
Like a spider fly caught in its own web.
That makes no sense.
It doesn't at all.
I think they even admitted this is the most ridiculous thing we've come up with as far as the animals go.
A spider fly.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna look up the. Is there a list of the animal hybrids?
All the animals? Yeah.
Let's see.
There should be. If there's not.
The lion turtle. That was a good one.
Yeah, lion turtle.
Just says
Classic.
bear. This place is weird.
Oh, the moth wasp. Those were creepy as fuck.
Oh, those were weird. And the buzzard wasps.
Wait,
The buzzard wasp.
I was
yes.
going to say I remember the buzzard wasp. What were the moth wasps? Where were they?
Moth wasp was from the spirit world.
Okay.
Oh, apparently it's in the comics. So yeah, I was thinking of the buzzard wasps. I have read the comics, but I didn't remember.
That's true.
The owl wolf.
Was that in the comics? I don't remember that in the
Hold
show.
on, I'm looking up these lists on this list. The owl wolf is
The
also.
show definitely had wolf bats.
Yeah, wolf bats.
Yeah, I remember
that's
the
true.
wolf bats.
Those were they were mean.
There are wolves and bats, both of which are not great.
The cat gator, the like catfish gator, that was.
Oh
that
yeah,
was cool.
That was cool. Yeah.
Eelhound. Nothing's faster over land or water than an eelhound.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it a mole hound? The thing
the lady had?
bounty hunter used?
It was called a
the
sheer
shoe,
shoe.
I think.
I don't know if we know like what animals
If it was a combo, yeah, it just had such good scent. I thought it was a mole something.
It definitely had like that star-nosed mole thing on the end of its snout.
Yeah.
The sheer shoe is one of
And the
two
ostrich
triple
horses.
hybrids from the show.
Whoa, triple hybrid.
Like the other being the saber-toothed moose lion. So the sheer shoe has the star nose like a mole. Hey, what are the other? Is this a triple hybrid? What are the other?
By the way, this is now the Avatar: The Last Airbender podcast.
Yeah, it's become the Avatar Animals podcast, which
Remember
there
that
are worse
review we
things
got?
to
What are you
podcast about.
There's that review we got where it just said your one-stop shop for all these things and had this massive list, and we're just like, oh man, there's more on this than we thought.
Yeah.
apparently it's a wolf, a star-nosed mole, and a giant anteater.
Oh, that makes sense because of the tongue. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Lion turtle still the coolest one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why they put it at the end.
There's the turtle crab, a flying fish.
I still really like the turtle ducks.
Oh yeah, the turtle ducks are cute.
They're so cute. And the mummy turtle duck is just fierce. I love her.
Okay, hold on. I gotta show you guys. This is also from a comic, I assume, but the flying fishopotamus is
Flying
funny looking.
fishopotamus.
I'll put it in our chat.
I think they may mention the flying fishopotamus in the show, but we don't see one.
I don't remember that, but that's not very hydrodynamic.
I mean, technically, hippos are underwater all the time, and they're not hydrodynamic.
Yeah, all right, fair point.
Of course, you're right. They don't really swim so much as walk.
There's also scorpion bees. That's not fun.
Ugh.
I mean, I guess it just
Scorpion
stings
isn't
like
very flat,
a bee.
doesn't have wings.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Okay. Back to the book.
Yeah, the book. What book are we reading again, Dana? Is it Way of Kings?
Yeah, totally. No. In on Roshar, where there's also hybrid creatures, except they're all hybrid with crabs, which is how we got here in the first place. Although, really, when you see the picture, Dak is right. This one does look like a turtle jellyfish. You guys will see when we read the next section. So Shallan is drawing again, sitting on the deck of the ship, drawing stuff, remembering that place, Shadesmar, and what happened there. And then she looks down. On her paper, a pattern had risen, like an embossing. It's like, wait, how did I do that? A sequence of complex lines with sharp angles and repeated arrowhead shapes. Is this something because I drew that weird place? Like, what is going on? And then the pattern moves across the page like an axehound pup under a bed sheet. That's very specific.
Ghost paper.
And she drops the sketch pad to the deck, and the pattern kind of slides off of it and takes off. And then here's Yalb, who's like, hey, what's up? What's going on? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Tozbek is the first one to come up. Like, you all right? And then Yalb comes up and gives her papers back. Your accoutrements, my lady. She's like, accoutrements? Sure. I'm practicing my fancy words. They help a fellow obtain reasonable feminine companionship.
Is he trying to say accoutrement?
You know, maybe. They don't have French. I don't know.
It's true.
And so she thinks that fortunately the ship had been delayed in Carbrant, and that allowed them to get Yasna selected them for their voyage. So everything's good. They're probably getting paid well by Yasna too. They had to take Shallan at a discount. I bet Yasna pays them decent. And then someone calls out. They've sighted something, and she sees what she thinks at first is a log, and then she realizes that it's a Santhid. Everyone is very excited about this, and she thinks Santhidine were so reclusive, some of her books claim they were extinct, and all modern reports of them were untrustworthy. But all they can see is the top of the shell. And she tells Yalb, bring me a rope. I want you to tie a loop on an end and like lower me down so I can put my head underwater and look at the thing. And Yalb's like, wait, what? Underwater? And she goes, you're not tying the rope. He's like, because I'm not a storming fool. The captain will have my head. And she goes, do you realize that no one has ever produced a drawing of a live Santhid? All the ones that have washed up on beaches were badly decomposed. And so he has to go and get the captain. He says, I'll need the captain's permission for something like that. And the captain comes up and is basically like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. there's some notes in here about Yalb's like, you're like not nearly as timid as you were when we like on the way here. And she's like, yeah, I mean, it's true. And Captain Toesbeck is like, yeah, no, I can't let you. I can't allow you to do something that dangerous. Even if we stop the ship, what if the beast harmed you? And so she's like, okay, fine. So she's not happy, but it is what it is. And then Yasna comes up on deck. And there's another moment where she's thinking about how pretty Yasna is. Lush of figure, tan of skin, immaculate eyebrows. Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, dude. Women appreciate eyebrows that are on fleek, as the kids used to say. They don't say that anymore.
Only Joe still says that.
Yeah, I say on fleek. I'm so cool. I'm bringing it back.
Taking it back. So Yasna has the men bring another box for her to sit on, and they talk a little bit. She sees the picture of Shadesmar, and she's like, you haven't gone back there, right? And Shallan's like, yes, I'm doing what you told me. And Yasna's like, so is this what's bothering you? I guess I should explain it then. And she's like, wait, really? You're just going to tell me about it? Yeah. I found that refusing to explain secrets to young people makes them more prone to get themselves in trouble, not less.
Ain't that the truth?
There's a genre-savvy comment of like every book ever that involved young people. And so Shadesmar, she says, it's not a location. It's all around us. All of the things that exist there exist here in some form.
It binds us and penetrates us. Sure.
All things have three components: the soul, the body, and the mind. And Shadesmar is the cognitive realm, the place of the mind. So some of this is information we already kind of have, but we are learning at least how they look at this. And she tries to explain it, and Shallan's just like, that made no sense. And Yasna's like, yeah, I hope not, because I spent 6 years trying to figure it out, and I still barely know what I'm talking about. So I will have to accompany you there several times before you can even begin to understand. What you see in Shadesmar are the depths of the world, an alien place to us in some ways, but at the same time, we form it with some help. And Shallan's like, wait, what? And Yasna goes, what are Spren? And Shallan's like, well, I mean, nobody knows. There's lots of opinions. And Yasna says, what are they? And Shallan says, they're living ideas. Which Yasna is surprised that Shallan just like got it in one. Yasna's like, that's right. My best guess is Spren are elements of the cognitive realm that have leaked into the physical world, concepts that have gained a fragment of sentience, perhaps because of human intervention. So we knew almost nothing about Spren for the entirety of the last book, and now we're getting an explanation. What Yasna thinks the explanation is, anyway. So does this hang together based on what we know about Spren?
Maybe. You said yourself we don't really know that much.
Yeah.
Sort of makes me think of when Kelsier found the things in Secret History. Like, he picked up the fire that knew it was a fire, and like the backpack that knew it was a backpack, and stuff like that. So it makes me think, okay, so those things, like those sort of concepts, that somehow bled out of the cognitive realm back into the physical one. So, I guess.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it kind of fits, because you're right. We saw that's kind of like a halfway step, where in the cognitive realm, they had a kind of sentience, like and Spren, at least some Spren, are maybe just a little more than that.
Yeah.
Spren are the ideas of collective human experience somehow come alive, and Shadesmar is where that first happens. It's their place. Though we created it, they shaped it. They live there, they rule there, within their own cities. She's like, wait, cities? Oh, yeah. Spren are wild in their variety. Some are as clever as humans and create cities. Others are like fish and simply swim in the currents.
Curiouser and curiouser.
Well, I mean, we know that, for instance, Syl seems to be as smart as a person, more or less. So it makes sense that some would be smart, if not all.
There was nothing that Yasna said there that I was like, nah.
Well, yeah, okay, good.
Doesn't mean she's right, but as close as I can get to anything. So
it fits what we know so far, at least. Yeah.
Interesting, if true.
Exactly. And Yasna says the Spren are not always forthcoming. In some cases, they do not know. In others, they don't trust me because of our ancient betrayal. And Shallan goes, betrayal? And Yasna's like, yeah, They won't tell me what it is, though they do talk about it. We broke an oath, and in doing so offended them greatly. I think some of them may have died, though how a concept can die, I don't know. So yeah, that's interesting. There was a betrayal, and maybe some died somehow. And Shallan sees that pattern again, but now out in the water, and she calls Yasna's attention to it. And she's like, does that mean something? And she's like, most certainly. I must admit, Shallan, I find the coincidence of our meeting to be startling, suspiciously so. She thinks the Spren brought you to me, and they are still watching you, it appears. The Spren sense impending danger, and so they return to us. So lots of interesting stuff right up front in this chapter, even if it's kind of vague and mysterious at the same time. And we find out that she's talked to her brothers since we last saw her. And she basically explained, like, I had to return the Soulcaster, and now I have to work with Yasna. She just doesn't give them specifics. And her brother, it says, had been positive after a fashion, saying he was glad at least one of them had managed to escape the fate that was coming to them. The rest of them
That's
were
a very
probably
backhanded. Doomed. It's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
glad you're going to be okay.
I mean,
Twist that knife in.
he might legitimately believe it. It might be like, well, I'm glad at least my sister will live through this. And so Shallan feels bad about this, but she's like, Yasna's quest is important, though. This is more important than what happens to my family. So, and then Yasna, kind of sensing what she's thinking, at least to some degree, is like, oh, by the way, about your family, I've done some stuff. And she says, wealth wouldn't solve this problem, though I've arranged for a small gift to be sent to them. They seem to have two issues. First, the Ghostbloods want their Soulcaster back, which you have broken. And second, your house has no allies and is deeply in debt. So I had a conversation with my mom this morning, and she shows Shallan this conversation. Navani says, oh, yeah, that happens more often than you'd think. Probably, like, when it was fixed, the gem housings weren't aligned just right. So bring me the device. We'll see what we can do. And Yasna goes, Yasna says, my mother's a renowned artifabrian. I suspect that she can make yours function again, and then we can send it to your brothers who can return it. And Shallan's like, you do that? And Yasna's like, well, I mean, I don't particularly want the Ghostbloods having access to this valuable device, but I don't really have time to help your family other ways now, so we'll do this.
Oh, she's really going out of her way to help Shallan.
Yeah. And I like, she's like, I mean, just have your brothers tell them the truth, that it's broken and you came to me to get it fixed. Maybe that'll keep them off your back for a little bit. And Shallan's like, man, if I'd just come to her in the first place and been honest, maybe this whole thing would have gone differently.
That's what I said.
Somebody did say that.
Yeah, but if you just went to her and were honest, then there would have been a whole book that we didn't get, and
Yeah, a whole story with jam and jam poison.
Yeah, Cabsal would still be alive, drowning himself in jam somewhere.
Shirt idea: Cabsal's jam stand with like a poison symbol on it. It's like a taste to die for.
Wow. Okay. I actually had considered a shirt that was like Jam Addict or Recovering Jam Addict, and has like a jam jar that's like empty and tipped on its side with a little bit, coming out. But I kind of like this idea.
I like
better.
that. I like them both. Let's do both.
Do both. 2 Cabsal jam shirts.
You can never have enough jam.
Shirts.
Either way. And so Shallan's like, okay, what's the second part? And Yasna says, well, I mean, just say making the Ghostbloods happy is not going to save your house. So basically, we're going to have to arrange an alliance for your house. And Shallan's like, oh, how? And Yasna takes a deep breath and seems reluctant. And she's like, so I've taken the initial steps in arranging for you to be betrothed to one of my cousins, son of Dalinar Kholin. His name is Adolin.
Yeah, of all the colons in all this world, why did it have to be Adolin?
And I love her selling points for Adolin are, he's handsome and well acquainted with amiable discourse.
Look at you dancing around like everything. Dancy.
Also, he's a complete jerk.
I mean, she does say he at times lacks foresight, but he has a good heart, as good as that of his father, who may be the best man I've ever known.
Well, that's good.
He has a very good heart. Shame about his brain.
Yeah. He had to get one of them. I guess that's the one he got.
Yeah.
And this whole speech, Yasna seems worried that Shallan's going to be unhappy about this, and Shallan's like, "This is amazing." Like, if I married someone that powerful, no one would dare touch us.
She's like, that's what you're getting from this? Okay.
Shallan's like, oh my god, this is wonderful. And Yaz is like, prepare to be surprised.
And Jasmine's like, I was worried you'd be offended. And Shallan's like, why? Well, because of the restriction of freedom implicit in a marriage.
Now that's the crux of the matter. Yasna don't want to be tied down to no man.
Yeah, well, good for her.
Good for her. She don't need no man.
And Shallan's like, I have spent my entire life assuming that my dad would pick my husband at some point. So, and Yasna's like, well, yeah, but now you're free to choose for yourself. And she's like, yeah, and I was so good at that the first guy I tried to hook up with was not only an ardent, but secretly an assassin.
Yeah, you sure can pick him.
I'm going to go ahead and just stop trusting my own judgment and allow others to make the choices for me.
Yeah. Well, she fell in love with assassin. She did kill her dad. So, I mean,
Yeah. And
maybe they had more in common than we thought.
What's the first decision she makes after this conversation? She gets tied to a rope and thrown off the back of the boat.
Yeah, that's true. And we also don't know. Maybe Cabsalt, maybe that was his first assassination job, and that's why he was so crappy at it. So he may not actually killed anybody.
Yeah, probably.
Interesting. Yeah. Or maybe
himself. I guess
maybe the jam trick works on everybody. Like everybody so far has fallen for the jam.
He's like, I do love me some jam. I guess I'll trust you, Arden. I just met.
But he's like, he was apprenticed to a guy who would use jam jars as Molotov cocktails and throw them at the assassination targets. And Cabsal's like, but master, why not get them to eat the jam? And the other guy's like, what?
But then how would I light them on fire?
Yeah. Also, I think we're getting confused because the jam had the antidote.
Yes, the bread was the poison.
Yep.
The jam-tidote.
Oh, no.
Waka waka.
There's a third Cabsal shirt for you.
I'm here all podcast. Nice. Cabsal's jam-tidote. You could have one of those, like in the 1800s where they'd have like the snake oil man like wagon where they'd come out with their wares and it's like Cabsal's elixirs and it's like jam-tidote.
Snake jam.
Yeah, snake jam.
That, could be good.
I mean, that sounds like something else.
No.
Yeah. It doesn't sound great.
Yeah, let's not.
Well,
we find out that Dalinar is the book.
Do you guys think we're doing a disservice here?
To the
we
jam?
Talking more about jam-tidotes or less?
Audience question for you.
Yeah, jam-tidote, yes or no?
Would you like a whole section devoted to jam-tidotes?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, or stories about jam. We could call them janecdotes.
Oh. Oh gosh.
I once had a jam so delicious. It actually had champagne in it. Yeah, I did.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you think? I didn't have a jam. What do you think? I'm some asshole who doesn't eat jam?
Like Yasna?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I made some chili jam a couple of months ago.
Ooh.
Went like toffee. It was not a good
Nice.
first attempt at making jam.
Oh.
I got
It's
excited
still in
there.
the fridge, isn't it? But
Yeah, but it's like toffee. It's hard. You got to microwave it before you can use it.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's not quite how jam is supposed to be. Agreed.
No.
Yeah.
I think it was like
that was
a couple of seconds earlier would have been fine. Oh, that's all right.
That was the Sanderlanche's first jamecdote. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay. So Dalinar is not completely opposed to this idea, and she notes the boy is recently single as he has managed to offend yet another young lady. So that girl that we saw him dating, that we were like, hey, maybe this one will work out. No,
it didn't work out.
it's
Also, like where's she
Brandon
getting
had
the
this
gossip?
whole Navani is just like spilling all the tea.
Yeah, she's like, I tried to get your cousin hooked up with this girl. I even gave him some sweet melons, but like, he screwed it up.
That was why Yasna was just like, so I suggested this to my mum, and my mum just took it as like, we are fucking doing this, let's go, and told Dalinar before I even knew what was happening. That's why I didn't ask you about it. Mum just took it and ran.
yeah, that's a fun note that she has. Where it's like Navani has a tendency towards the overwhelming.
Yeah, but to your point, it does sort of feel like in the previous book, yeah, so like Brandon was building this storyline about this other girl, and like, you know, and we all thought she was going to be a spy, and it seemed like it was going somewhere, and now it's like nah, fuck her right off.
Yep, she's done.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
it's like the beginning of The Last Jedi when Mark Hamill throws the lightsaber.
The
like,
sword.
oh. Yeah, I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah.
I mean, Danlin could still show back up at some point. She could be dating somebody else. You don't know. Maybe she'll hook up with a Renarin.
Ugh, no thanks.
Ugh.
And
Well, I mean, we say that, but that's no worse than their dad dating their aunt.
their aunt,
You're not wrong. I forgot about that until just now when you said it, and I'm still uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And Shallan's kind of getting real into this idea. She's like, Adolin Colin, a duelist, a fantastic one, and even a shard bearer. And she's like, ooh.
Yeah. Just wait, Shallan.
Once again, prepare to be surprised.
Wait until you figure out that Yasna will be your sister-in-law and your cousin.
And
she's like, what kind of hillbilly family did I marry into?
Can hear the banjos now.
Yeah. I apologize if any of our listeners are fans of the banjo and live in hills.
like, Shallan's like, I'm not really important. Is that really a good match? And Yasna goes, well, the daughter of another high prince probably would have been preferable, but it appears that he's managed to offend each and every one of the eligible women of that rank.
Can you imagine? Just like, yeah, none of the women in my class want anything to do with me.
But and Shallan just like skips that as well. Like,
Yep.
like Yasna's like, oh yeah, he's kind of over eager about relationships, and Shallan's just gone, but he's the heir to the princedom. It's like, no, you're not hearing me. He's a lunatic when it comes to girls.
We call him commitment man. He's a freak. A freak.
What we need is someone who's not going to run away scared, and you need something out of this, so you're in it for the long game.
Look, he proposes after the third date anyway, so we're just going to go ahead and do the betrothal.
Actually,
like, this is why Yasna's telling her you need to stand up for yourself so she can do it to Adolin. Nothing to do with this other bullshit.
I think the second guy I roomed with in college had a reputation with the freshman girls. They called him Marriage Man because the first date he would immediately be like, I'm planning on getting married within like the next however long, and like just lays all this stuff out up front. And there's like, okay, he's coming on a little too strong.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to not get a second date.
Yeah. Mary, I don't even think I like this dessert. What are you doing?
But I mean, as Dak points out, Shallan immediately skirts over the bad stuff. It's like, he's the heir to the princedom. He's in line for the throne of Alethkar. And Yasna's like, yeah, third in line behind my brother's infant son and Dalinar. So apparently Elhokar has an infant son.
Once again, news to me. I'm like, how much of these other we spend so much time in Dalinar's family, we forget about the rest of them.
Yep.
Sadeas has a wife. Elhokar has a wife. Elhokar has a son.
Yep. He did now.
An infant son at that. He's been at the Shattered Plains for like 5 years, but he's got an infant back home. He must have visited.
Wait, what? Yeah, either that or he's just really, really dumb. He's like, oh, you had a baby. Good for you. That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'll see him when I get back.
Gavilar
Yes, the
died
queen
before
went
he
back
could
to
give
take
Elhokar the
care
first
of-
babies.
To take care of important business. Yep.
Important business, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, when was the last time you saw the queen? 10 months ago. And you just had your son? Yeah. Huh. Okay.
This is why Yasna was just like, I need to know if I need to have her killed.
Yeah.
Yep. There you go. That's what it was.
Yeah. He was born 1 month ago. Full head of hair. Full head of teeth. That's a Parks and Rec quote.
Shallan eventually is like, I mean, what about like the younger son? Wouldn't that, because I don't really have anything to bring to this relationship.
Yeah, Renarin and Shallan. Like, I feel like that is a good match, but
Yeah, I think they'd get along.
Shallan doesn't know either of the guys at this point, so it's really kind of like all theoretical. But yeah, I agree. I think that they get along. But Yasna says, I think actually that you're going to be able to offer something more important and something that nobody else can offer if you are what I think you
magic powers.
When once humans and Spren bonded, the results were women who danced the skies and men who could destroy the stones with a touch.
Sure.
And she's like, oh, the Alethi court is going to chew me to pieces. And Yasna's like, no, I'll train you. It'll be fine. And this is where they get in the conversation where she's like, I can't be like you. You have power, authority, wealth. Look at how the sailors respond to you. And Yasna's like, what you're saying is true, but that's not why they respond to me that way. They respond to me because of how I act. Power is an illusion of perception. They treat me like royalty, but they would do the same if I had just convinced them that I was a king's sister and I wasn't really the king's sister. It's all illusions. And Shallan says, I'm not convinced, Brightness. And Yasna goes, I know. If you were, you'd be doing it already. Tell me if you see that pattern again, okay? And then she leaves, and Shallan starts thinking about what Yasna just said to her. And she's like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. And so she goes up to the captain, and she's like, hey, you remember that thing I wanted to do? We're going to do it now. And he's like, I cannot allow that. Cannot allow. I wasn't aware I had made a request that you had the power to allow or disallow, Captain.
Oh, damn! Man, savage.
And
Shut the hell up and throw me off your boat.
He says his mouth worked for a moment with no sound coming out, like he was not expecting this. And he's like, well, it's my ship. And she's like, yeah, and nothing's going to be done to your ship. Now, let's be quick about it, Captain. And they do it. He's annoyed, but they do it. And once they get the rope out there and she takes off her shoes and steps in it, she's like, oh, this may have been a bad idea. But she starts getting scared, but she's like, no, I can't stop now.
Yeah, can't stop.
It made me think of all things, Muppet Treasure Island. Because there's a line in there about Gonzo being really excited. One of the crew was going to tie a rope around him and throw him off the back of the boat so he could just go for a ride.
Yay! Yeah.
The best version of Treasure Island, yep.
Yep. Yeah, it's so funny
hands
that
down.
you mentioned that. I was just like, I was just talking about my wife about that. Well, talking to my wife about that movie the other day, and I was like, "There's gotta be something better." She's like, "What?" I'm like, that's the song. Sets them on their adventure.
Yeah.
Actually, the original.
You should go on with Professional Pirate. Tim Curry makes everything better.
True. They're bringing back the original Muppet movie to theaters. I think next weekend or the weekend after for the 45th anniversary or something.
Nice.
So I may have to go and maybe take the kids to see it. They like the Muppets, but they've only seen the newer ones, the Muppets Most Wanted and the one before that.
Jason Segel one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yasna comes back up and she's like, "What's going on?" Because the ship had to stop, and there's a bunch of people rushing around getting ready for this. And she's like, "What?" She looks over at Yasna, or she looks over at Shallan and cocks an eyebrow, and Shallan just shrugs and goes for it. I can just imagine what Yasna is thinking, because Yasna didn't know that she'd asked them to do this. No one mentioned this to her. So she's like, why is Shallan going over the side of the ship?
You'd think that Yasna would be all about it, though, in the name of research.
Oh, absolutely. I think if Shallan had explained to her what she wanted to do and why, Yasna would 100% back her. It's like, no one has ever done this before. No one has ever been able to study a living one of these up close and get a picture of it. And Yasna would be like, oh, well then, yeah, we absolutely need to do this thing.
Yeah, you got to do it. I'll do it. Move.
But Yasna can't draw, and Shallan is good at the drawing. So Shallan gets out there.
Memory.
Well, yeah, that helps, right? And
Might have figured out that it's magic memory, though. Like it's magic power spren memory. She's got memory spren.
Sprennery?
Sprennery, yeah. She's got, she could store stuff in copper mines.
Ooh.
Yeah. I
Crossovers.
Yeah. Shallan's secretly a ferrochemist. Who knew?
Yeah. What if you could have copper mines and have memory spren? Where would you be then?
Well, we know that what's his name? The guy who wrote the epigraphs in the second book, Quan. He had a photographic memory. That's how he figured out that Ruin was changing stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's right.
So she gets in the water. She sticks her head under, and she sees the creature. It says it had long, drooping blue tentacles like a jellyfish, only way thicker, and they disappeared down into the depths of the water beneath. Its ancient-looking fold surrounded one large eye on her side, presumably it had another eye on the other side, and there was a group of strange spren shaped like arrows moving through the water around it. Why had the creature swum up beside the vessel? Who knows? And so she took a memory for sketching later, and that's the end of our chapter. So Shallan's out here doing scholarship for the sake of scholarship. I like it.
She's getting a scholarship.
And so we come to predicaments, and we will continue our what we've been doing. I will give you the chapters that we're going to read next. We're going to read 3 chapters for next time. Chapter 2 is titled Bridge 4, so that shouldn't surprise anyone when we get there. Chapter 3 is called Pattern, and Chapter 4 is called The Taker, or not the, just Taker of Secrets. So there you go.
Okay, well, Bridge 4, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that that's about Kaladin's crew.
Maybe, yeah.
Shock horror. Probably, unless there's a replacement Bridge 4 now. But no, I'd say it's probably Kaladin's. What his crew is up to. What they're up to, don't know. Hopefully they're having a better time than they had last book. Training,
right.
Still staying off the battlefields for the time being, looking after themselves, getting in shape, that sort of thing. Hopefully they're doing well. Was it patterns? Maybe we'll I don't know. Shallan's finding more patterns. Maybe she's looking at those again. What was the last one?
Taker of Secrets.
Taker of Secrets. Don't know.
Yes,
a little more mysterious.
Mysterious indeed. It does sound very...
Yeah, I got nothing. No idea.
Well, what other predicaments?
Overall predicaments. I don't know. We've picked up where we left off, which is nice. I'm glad we didn't have a 5 year later gap happening. So that's good. So it kind of feels like we're at the same pace. I would expect that we're even though we're still coming on from the same story, I would say things have slowed down a little bit. Again, just Kaladin's crew kind of finding their feet in a new army, getting used to being treated a different way. I'm hoping we get a lot more sort of Kaladin and Dalinar together, which would be nice to see.
I mean, if he's bodyguarding him, it makes sense we might see them together, right?
Yeah. I mean, they've both got their own viewpoints, but it'd be good to see a bit more of them together. And I hope we get sort of those discussions about the weird things that are happening. I think overall, I'm hoping that it doesn't take Shallan and Yasna too long to get back to everyone. I think it'll be maybe part 2. We might see that. I think they've still got a little bit of traveling on their own first, but when they get back to the Shattered Plains, I don't really know how they're gonna integrate straight away. Obviously, Yasna's got the in with the Colons, being a Colon herself, but how they'll all get along. I'm super keen to see the meeting between Adolin and Shallan. There's so many places that could go, and I'm so here for it. But yeah, in terms of predictions for the rest of the book, I don't know. It's a bit early to tell now.
That's fair. It is very early days.
Yeah, chapter 1, yeah.
So, but let's do a prediction now. As you said, there's lots of ways that the meeting between Shallan and Adolin could go. How do you think things would go long term between the two of them? Or even what would you like to see? Would you like for this to be a good thing that works, or it to be hilariously not good?
I think it'd be cool to see something that works. No, I think I'd like to see something that works long term. I think it would be kind of amusing to see, Shallan wants this, even though she's never met him. She wants this at this point. He may be indifferent, but perhaps her kind of standing her ground and, not just letting Adolin run the show might be a good thing for Adolin. So I think it would be cool if it worked in the long run, but maybe it will just be a disaster. And maybe she will end up with Renarin, or, maybe she'll end up with Kaladin or something. They both share some special abilities, different abilities, but, there's definitely an opportunity for them to learn from each other, and maybe that will draw them a little closer together.
Yeah, that's a good point. We got some specialness hiding. They're both not being too public about that at the moment. But
yeah.
I also like the idea that the Bridge 4 chapter could be about a new Bridge 4. How horrific would it be after watching Kaladin and his crew get out of this to start over with a new guy in Bridge 4? Oh.
Yeah. That, or Statius has just named everyone Bridge 4 now. It's left. And it's just gone, you're all Bridge 4.
There's way too many of us out here, guys. We're all bumping into each other. Who's Bridge 4? We all are. What?
Everyone is Bridge 4. Elika, what are you doing here? I'm Bridge 4.
I am Bridge 4. No, I'm Bridge 4. I'm Bridge 4.
I'm Spartacus 2. Who's radio?
I'm Brian, and so is my wife.
I know a couple who I don't know if they both still work there, but who worked where I work, where the both husband and wife were named Michael, spelled differently but pronounced the same.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting how that could happen.
Yeah, I too think it's a bit early days for big predictions. I did have the thought, and maybe this is an obvious one, but like Yasna was talking about the Spren they talked to her, but some of them blamed them for the betrayal. And it made me think of the Knights Radiant, because, we spent the whole last book saying, oh, the Radiants betrayed mankind. And I'm wondering if actually they didn't. Like, it really seems as though the betrayal was just they betrayed the Spren, because the Radiants, like, they have to work in concert with the Spren. Like, that seems to be how they get their powers and everything. So when they stopped being Radiants, they actually just betrayed the Spren. And humanity did what they always did and said, no, they betrayed us. They betrayed us. Like, fellas, they didn't do shit to you. They just stopped being Radiants, which means they weren't working with the Spren. But humanity has to make it all about them again.
Yep, it's always about us. So true.
Yeah. So that's the thought I had for, like, that's the only real prediction I have. As far as the others go, like the chapter titles, yeah, Bridge 4, probably Kaladin working with his team, or it could be Dalinar watching how Bridge 4 works. But that might be a stretch. Yeah, Patton, I had the same thought as Jamie. That's probably Shallan and the patterns of her drawings doing funky stuff. Taker of Secrets, I had the thought maybe that's reflecting on the Night Mother with Dalinar, and the fact that, the Night Mother took, the memory of his wife, and maybe he's thinking more about that.
Oh, the Night Watcher. So, yeah, okay.
Night Watcher. What did I say?
Night Mother. I was thrown for a minute. Like, wait, who were we talking about? Okay.
Night Mother, that's an Elder Scrolls thing.
Is it? Oh, okay. I could have sworn like she was called the Night Mother or something in the previous book, but no, disregard. But yeah, I think maybe that'll be Dalinar reflecting on that and the old magic and whatever it was, taking his memories.
Okay, I had to go back and look because what you said sounded vaguely familiar. So there is an epigraph in the previous book that says, Re-Shefir, the Midnight Mother, giving birth to abominations with her essence so dark, so terrible. So the Midnight Mother gets mentioned, but you were thinking of the Night Watcher, about who we think took Dalinar's memory.
I mean, they definitely refer to the Night Watcher as female, though, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, okay. So that's part of how I got it all mixed up.
Oh, but yeah. So that's an interesting thought about the Taker of Secrets. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Any other overall predicaments?
No, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, still early days. We'll see.
Yep. It's interesting because we know we've been in this world with these characters for so long with the giant book we read, and yet it is still early days in this story of this book. So
yeah. But
they seem, at least for the one chapter we've gotten to read, people are still on the same sort of trajectory as we left them on.
True enough. Although I did look at the map and have to wonder, how are they going to get from the boat to the Shattered Plains? Because, like, if they go to where the coast is closest to the Shattered Plains, they basically have to cut across Parshendi territory to get there. So,
well, the
I don't know where they're actually stopping.
The Parshendi are out in the middle of the Shattered Plains, like somewhere there. We don't even know where their main home is, but that was Dalinar's whole plan, was to lay siege to them by trapping them in the Shattered Plains.
Well, yeah, but the Alethi are really only on the western edge of the Shattered Plains, aren't they?
Yeah, we find out that two of the edges of the plains are too wet, they're so weathered that you can't move around the plateaus out there. So they don't think the Parshendi could be leaving the plains in those directions. And the Alethi are on one of the other sides, and then they're monitoring, I believe we're told, the other one. So they think that they've got them sealed up pretty well.
Oh, okay.
And Captain Toesbeck does make mention of, as they curve around the continent towards New Natanon, there's nothing of worth between here and the shallow crypts. So it sounds like they're going to New Natanon in order to then move to the Shattered Plains, at least from what he's saying. Or maybe it just means they're going toward there. I don't know.
I mean, even if they do, they hook around there, they're coming in to the Shattered Plains from the east. And I think I got in my head that the Parshendi controlled that side of the land, but evidently I was wrong.
They might. There seem to be like mountains on the map, so they might actually have to like, even if they start out there in the east, they might have to go down and around the mountains to the south. I don't know. We don't know much about what the territory looks like. Although this whole area is apparently called the Frostlands, which doesn't make it sound very inviting, but.
So yeah, Bridge 4. I mean, we're going to be checking in with Kaladin. I assume it's not going to be some random person that's now Bridge 4, and kind of seeing what the situation is with them. Essentially, I mean, I guess maybe this chapter might be a good time for it to just kind of recap. Like, there might be a lot of Kaladin inner monologue, like there was with Shallan. It's like, I did this, and then now this is happening, and now this is happening, and this is where we are now. That would be kind of my guess as to what that first chapter may be like, and just to get a sense of like who's left in Bridge 4, because also, like, you know, Kaladin said they'd probably all stay if he decided to stay, but we don't know for sure. So like, did anybody leave? Like, what positions are they in now? So maybe that'll cover like that type of stuff. What was the next chapter title?
Pattern.
With Pattern, I don't know. That's if we're following like the pattern, not to be cheeky there, of like who would be next in line, it could be a Dalinar chapter, but I almost kind of agree that it's like a Shallan chapter instead. Like, we go back to Shallan, because Bridge 4 could potentially, since they're in the same place, Bridge 4 chapter could cover Dalinar and Kaladin. We could get both of them in that single chapter. And so Pattern could be about, you know, Shallan seeing patterns and stuff, or it could be about Dalinar seeing patterns and stuff. Like, Dalinar's realizing, like, wait a minute, there's a pattern of all the things that I was seeing, and now I need to like figure it out, because I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do from here. And so it could be about that. And then the third chapter was what was it?
Taker of Secrets.
Well, we've had several mentions with Shallan about secrets and like keeping secrets, knowing secrets.
She's all about the secrets.
Yeah. There's always another secret, Brandon. And so that may be another Shallan chapter instead, if Pattern's a Dalinar chapter, wherein, you know, more secrets are revealed or made. I don't know. But where I think we're going overall for this book. So that I'm trying to like correlate the prologue to the rest of the book, because I feel like we had a good amount of Seth last book. We might get even more. And I think I've made some overall arching predictions as far as what I think maybe this is coming towards from last book, you know, just from what we had from last book, where like maybe if Kaladin, like this book, he learns how to use the powers like well, and we may see like a face off between him and Seth, because he is now Dalinar Kholon's bodyguard, and we know Seth has been told like, hey, you got to go kill Dalinar Kholon. So we may see like a face off between those two characters, maybe at the end of the book, or maybe not even in this book, or they may like start fighting and then be like, hey, let's be buddies. That'd be fun, you know. Seth and Kaladin being best friends together forever.
Buddy comedy.
Never ends. Yeah. Sure. Solving mysteries, one light suck at a time. I don't know what you call it when they suck out the stuff. Yeah. And then I think the meeting, to address that other question, I think the meeting between Shallan and Adolin, I think it'll go well. What I think would be funnier is if she ran into Renarin first, and by the way he was dressed, she knew he was one of the princes, and she thought he was Adolin, and then she was like, oh man, this guy's really charming. And then they become like good friends and like start to like each other, and then they're like, oh, may I introduce Adolin? She's like, oh wait, I thought you were Adolin. You're Renarin. Oh, okay.
That could lead to some shenanigans. I agree. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then we have a Navani, you know, Gavilar situation repeated, you know?
Oh, in the next generation, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, where she likes Renarin, but then, hey, look, my older brother, he's the heir. Ooh.
Interesting, yeah. Okay.
Dalinar and Navani are watching, just going, oh no, oh no, oh no.
I've seen a rant like this before.
Okay, I like this idea. I'm going with this. History's going to repeat itself here. Let's do it. That leaves out the possibility someone else mentioned of like, you know, her and Kaladin could hook up. Kaladin needs a girlfriend too, right? So we'll have to find him one.
It's fine. I think he's better with that one.
Does he? Okay, fair. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got what's her name? His friend buddy, Syl.
Oh, Syl. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That okay.
One more thing I wanted to mention was like this stuff with the Spren and the betrayal. My predicament for that right now is that like the betrayal was relinquishing the power because the power, it's like a symbiotic relationship, right? So like when they relinquish the power, Spren like still lost their memories and like became like mindless or like you know, so like all the Spren now that exists in the world, well not all, but a lot of the Spren now that exists in the world, like they can't think for themselves and they can't do anything for themselves, and outside of maybe in Shadesmar they can, but in the corporeal world they can't. And so that's the betrayal. That was my predicament for that.
So Silk could have been one of those that suffered the betrayal, and maybe she'll remember that at some point. That could lead to some drama.
Well, yeah, especially if she's like a high Spren, like whatever, if that's the term. I don't even know. I'm just guessing that based on the fact that she's not a win Spren like we thought. She's an honor Spren or whatever.
She's a smarty pants Spren, right?
Yeah, she's a smart Spren. You know, she's an Uber Spren, Ubermacht. Or I guess Ubermensch because she's a friend. Ubermensch.
You did make me think of how awkward, like, could it make relationships if people with these powers have like a little Spren who's always hanging around and like sitting on your shoulder watching everything?
Well, potentially Kaladin is the only one who could see her unless she wills it, except for Rock somehow can see her too, but he can't like completely see her. He can only see like a glow or whatever.
Yeah, but if Kaladin can always see her and like he starts dating a woman who can't, that just I feel like makes it more awkward.
And, you know, she's a third wheel, but she doesn't know.
Kaladin can speak to Syl in the like physical realm, but Shallan can talk to her in the cognitive realm.
Oh.
Yeah, you made it real awkward though, because now I'm just imagining Syl being like, Kaladin, more tongue.
Okay.
Less tongue. That's gross.
I didn't mean that much. Come on, Kaladin.
Whoa. Who taught you how to kiss?
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's move on past that.
Where are we going from here? Because I feel like that was the way to end it.
Yeah, we'll move into our next segment for the show, I suppose. Just move away from that as quickly as humanly possible. And we got several emails, but we've also got a couple of new patrons. So I'll read some emails. You can get your patron list ready.
Wow, a couple new patrons, huh?
Yeah.
Look at us.
The first email is a very short one from Scott. It's entitled Dawn Shards. It says, Dear Data, I feel like you guys glazed over the mention of Dawn Shards, and I think there could have been more cool speculation. That's it. So really, that's on you guys. You didn't speculate enough for Scott.
We have no context. It's like God says, oh, if you still had these things, and now I'm dead. And we're just like, okay, cool. We'll find out what those are later.
Hopefully, yeah. By the time we get to that short story that's called Dawn Shard, hopefully you guys have figured out something.
Yep. Maybe we'll find a second like notebook that God left behind before he died, where he actually like has the terminology.
Well, honestly, like it's possible that on second view, once Dalinar understands what's going on in these visions and how God is not actually answering his questions, things may make a lot more sense and we may get more information. Assuming, I guess, so far we've only seen him relive one vision, and even that one had a little extra tacked onto it. So we don't know if he'll relive them all or if there's more information to be had in multiple visions. Maybe, I guess we'll find out. We're going to see more Dalinar. So the second one is from Rory, and they say it is pronounced Rory, but curious to hear your attempts at pronouncing it. Well, I mean, I'm not going to pronounce it another way now that I know how it's pronounced, but it's spelled Ruairi, so I'm not sure how I would have said that. New listener. Hey guys, I only recently discovered your podcast a couple weeks ago, and I'm currently binging whenever I have time, sometimes even when I don't, but don't tell my boss that. Really looking forward to hearing your opinions on Elantris, as it's one of my favorites, despite recognizing it as one of Sanderson's weaker books, because it was my introduction to the Cosmere, and I was playing Dark Souls for the first time when reading it, and imagined the city of Elantris sort of like the undead Burg, and the Elantrians as the Hallowed. I've never played Dark Souls, so these references do not hit for me, maybe for one of you all.
No, I've never been a fan of Dark Souls. I did play Elden Ring, enjoyed it a good deal, but never got in on the OG Dark Souls.
No, I missed them either as well.
The concept of these games that are like punishingly difficult is not appealing to me.
You know, it's just a learning curve thing, especially with Elden Ring, and I kind of enjoyed it. It reminded me of playing a game as a kid and, you know, learning how to play the game. because you didn't have that basic skill set of playing video games yet, you know?
Yeah.
And so it kind of reminds me of that. So there is like some satisfaction in like, oh, I'm figuring this out, and now I've like beaten this boss that was pretty tough before, and now I can go back and defeat him really easily because now I know like the pattern or whatever.
Mm-hmm. That just reminds me of like playing, like the original Super Mario Bros. Where like
Right.
It is still, I've discovered, is still muscle memory for me all these years later, like getting through the first level of Super Mario Bros. Because I played it so much.
Yeah. Yep. I'm right there with you.
I think the closest I got to a Dark Souls type game was like Cuphead. I played through Cuphead.
Yeah. Side-scrolly Dark Souls.
The email continues. Can't wait to hear in about a bajillion episodes time when and if you read my email, as I don't even know what book you're up to right now. Keep up the great work. From Rory. Thank you. Appreciate it. I hope you've listened this far and have enjoyed your journey. By the way, we're reading Words of Radiance now, in case at the end of this episode that was unclear.
Thank you from the world of tomorrow.
Or by the time you hear this, from the world of yesterday.
Right.
True.
By the time you hear this, we might be on the next book. Who knows? The next
Depends
one
on
is
how
from,
fast you're binging.
Yeah, exactly. Right. They seem like they were binging pretty fast. So we get 2 weeks ago, and they're up to Elantris. So that's at least through all of the first Mistborn era. The next one's from Ashley, and the title of this email says, "I'm bad with email titles. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I started listening around the time you were finishing Well of Ascension. You guys were my first podcast, and I think I've been spoiled with all the great insights, theories, and references, especially Futurama and Final Fantasy. I've tried other podcasts since, but you guys are by far my favorite. Just want to thank you for all the work you've put into the podcast. As others have said, it must be incredibly difficult at times to read only a few chapters at a time, especially Way of Kings, since I felt the pacing was a bit slow the first time I read it. Though, I feel like there are more knowledge nuggets that make it much more enjoyable on a reread. I'm excited for you guys to get into Words of Radiance, as it's my personal favorite of the Stormlight Archive. Thanks again for all you do, Wuzzing to the time of next, Ashley."
Oh, thanks. That's a great email.
Thanks.
You're not so bad with email titles.
Yeah, I mean, you got your point across.
And just thank you for that one. We got one more email that I'll read. This one is from Julie, and the title is The Well of Ascension. "Hey guys, I've never emailed a podcast before, but after these chapters I just read, I had to. I love the fantasy genre, but starting a new one can be intimidating with all the world building. So before I started the Final Empire last year, I looked for a podcast I could read along with. I felt like I was a part of your book club, and it's been such a fun way to read. I know you guys are well past Mistborn by this point, but I just had to tell you that I'm reading The Well of Ascension, and I just got to the Tensoon reveal, and I screamed. The entire season of Well of Ascension episodes, I was like, wow, Joe is really holding on to this theory. There's no way. But I was so wrong, and that moment was so much fun to experience with the pod. I'll probably never catch up with you guys, but I just want you to know I love the podcast, and you've made the reading experience so enjoyable through this series. Thanks for all your hard work." From Julie.
I like when people read along with us. That's cool to hear.
Thanks.
But I think you could totally catch up with us because you don't have to wait a week to discuss it. You could just listen to the podcast, read the next section, and then listen to the next podcast.
I don't know. Some people don't have that much time for listening, you know?
No, you're right. I'm not saying like listen to us more. I'm just saying you could catch up if you want.
Yeah.
It's always possible.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. We've been doing this show for like 4 years.
Yeah.
It's true. And we've come so far.
Or have we?
Or have we? Since the day when none of you had ever read any Brandon Sanderson to now, it's been a journey.
Mm-hmm.
I like it when people say they're reading along with us, but I feel like most of the emails we get is, I tried reading along with you, and then I couldn't, and so I just kept going.
Hey, that's
It's
okay.
true.
So, which is entirely fair, because we're on our 12th book now, and it's taken us over 4 years just to get to that point. So obviously time consuming, but I think props to you to our listener here who is actually following along through not just the first Mistborn but the second one as well, and is committed to the schedule. That's something.
Yeah. Let me know what you think about. Let me know what you think about Spook when you get to that third book.
Oh boy.
When you get to that third book, but then you also get through all the other books to make it to here.
Right.
Let Joe
Yeah.
know.
Let me know in like 2 years what you think about Spook.
What do you think about Spook, Julie? Please let us know.
Does he know why you're sad?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you sad? You could be happy.
You do you.
I myself, I've never been happy, but that's a different thing.
I've never been happy.
Poor Julie got to follow all the way through to now and then be like, oh, I'll write in about my thoughts about Spook. Here we go.
Yeah.
By the time Julie gets here, she's probably forgotten that she ever wrote an email, and she's like, "Oh, this Julie person, they're really on the
me.
ball."
Wait, that's
how I
me.
felt too.
Yeah, this person sounds just like me, and they have my same name. How cool.
Okay, that was our emails. Thank you, everyone who sent us an email. If you'd like to send us an email, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. I love it when we get some thought-provoking, conversation-provoking emails. That's always fun. Or just hearing about people and their adventure through this as they're listening is also entertaining. I love it. You can also find us on places like Instagram and X and Facebook and Patreon, where this week I still haven't started reading a new book, but I did post up a couple other things for our patrons. Like, I hadn't decided at that time what we were going to use for the song for Words of Radiance, and I put up a poll to let the patrons choose what song we would use, and that's how we end up with Amnesia, which is a very fitting song. Honestly, if I'd been forced to pick, I probably would have ended up on that same one, but there was a couple other good candidates that I was considering.
You worded that terribly. It should it's not how it should have been, and that's why we have amnesia. Come on, man.
Yeah, no, I messed it up. Also, somebody pointed out in the comments that one of the songs I included was Back to the Start as a possibility, and someone was like, "Didn't you already use that? It's on the Sanderlanche playlist." And when I look back, it is one of those songs that we used for like a one-off short story at some point, and I'd completely forgotten because I have a spreadsheet of all the songs that we've used and might use, but when I put up the poll on Patreon, I was at work and I didn't have the spreadsheet, so I just had to do my best to try to remember what we'd done and had not done, and so no one voted for that one, so I don't think there was ever any chance of it making it anyway. But also this week I got the very first real life sample of a piece of merch. I got the Volcano Theory shirt, and so I took some pictures of the actual physical shirt that I had received that I will probably wear at one of the days at Dragonsteel Nexus this year. I've got that shirt. I bought another shirt that I told you guys about the experience of buying the passes and how difficult it was, and with the issues that the site was having. What a lot of people saw over and over was this little bar pop up that says you must be logged in to do this or perform this action. I don't remember the exact quote. Somebody took that bar and like turned it into a repeating pattern on like a Hawaiian shirt or like that style of shirt, and I bought that so that I will wear that at the convention. I'm like, everyone who successfully bought tickets will relate to this shirt because we all experienced this.
You'll have to send us a picture because I want to see that.
Yes, I will send you guys a picture of that shirt. And I think I'm also intending to do a cosplay one of the days there. I'm going to try. I'm going to try a Hoyd outfit from a book that you guys have not read yet.
Oh, so we're not allowed to see that picture.
No, I won't be able to show you that one.
What a punk!
Until we get to that book. But I think it's going to be fun if it works out the way I have planned. I've got several months to work it out. But anyway, so if you're interested, check out our Patreon for that sort of thing. And we have a couple people who signed up this week on our Patreon.
Word?
So the first one is a new Ska level backer, and their name is Shayla.
Shayla, you're a brute. You store that physical strength.
There you go. Be strong, Shayla.
Be strong.
And our other new backer is at the Misting level, and I want to say this name is pronounced Eileen. Eileen. E-L-I-N-E. Eileen.
Eileen, you store senses.
Oh, is that Wind Whisper?
What is the name of it? I just remembered what they stored. Hold on. Wind Whisper. Yes, that is correct.
Ah, I got it. I know the Cosmere thingies. So Thank you guys for being new backers. You're awesome. Everyone on the Patreon. I'm going to try to put up. I'm going to try to, even between, being able to start new books, I'm going to try to do some more of these, smaller, interesting, fun things to share with the patrons.
Nice.
I might even I've been letting the Discord sample some of the merch ideas and give opinions. Maybe I'll start doing that on the Patreon and, make that another special benefit that you guys get some input on these designs that I've been working on this last week or two. If you'd like to join our Discord, though, where there's been some conversation on this sort of thing, you can find the link at our website, which is www.thesanderlanche.com. Join the Discord right at the top of the page. Or if you're on mobile, you have to use the little hamburger icon to drop down the join and find the Join the Discord link. But you can find it there. I think that's all the things.
Is that the official like internet name for that button, hamburger?
That's the way I've always heard it referred to. I don't actually know.
Yeah. I always just call it a menu button.
Yeah, that makes sense too. Anyway,
I wish we had a muffin button.
So as I said, 3 more chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound, Amnesia for this book, and hope you guys enjoy it, since we will be doing that one for 32 episodes is what I have this outlined at. So
Woo.
it'll really suck if people just really hate one of the songs and it's one of the ones that we use on for a very long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, 3 chapters for next time. Music by Miracle of Sound, and Wasing to the Time of Next. Colo, P.S. Fish. Crabs ahoy.
You forgot your name. Don't let your spirit fade away. Amnesia, you've been through such pain. You're growing stronger every day. Amnesia.